And I feel a lot of joy in what has been asking me to turn to it and take it in at a deeper level than I ever have before. And I ask for the grace to do that here with you with as few words as possible. Yet, you know, words are what I got. So here's what I'm swimming in right now, that this path does not ask for anything around us to change. Only the depths of our seeing. There is no limit to our life other than our existing belief system. So what we do here is help each other bring into consciousness the belief system deciding our life that is mostly unconscious. Eckhart Tolle reminds us that unhappiness arises not from the circumstances of our life, but from the conditioning of our mind. What is that? Basically, well, it's all the stories we heard early in life that we just swallowed, believed, and the way we're repeating some version of these lifelong stories to ourselves in the present. Byron Katie says that true freedom is a mind that is no longer deceived by itself. So when we say we're stressed from a situation, and we all have stressful situations, they're unavoidable. Actually, what we're stressed about is the mind wanting the situation to be different than it actually is. The mind races in a deep panic, trying to fix reality, which can't be fixed. Reality has a life of its own. So our main illusion is any thought that there are causes other than our own state of consciousness for our distress. Our pain isn't optional. It's a fact of life on the physical level, mental level, emotional level, even the spiritual level. But our suffering is completely optional. We understand this in a new way these days. For thousands of years, human pain was seen as punishment. What did you do wrong? Why is God punishing you? Now we are beginning to understand that pain is a gateway, that it's actually sacred and holy. It has dignity. And our pain, our distress, whatever we're struggling with, is actually the very messenger to our liberation. So what's the difference between pain and suffering? Well, pain comes and goes, even if it comes back. Suffering is relentless and ongoing. Suffering is what we feel breathing down our neck. Yet when we look closely at what suffering actually is, it's the thought and belief and emotion that what's going on around us has to change for us to be free. When we change, the things around us change. You know, we hear the word enlightenment often, and it seems vague and out of reach. Yet, awakening, enlightenment, is simply being mindful of what is happening in the present moment inside of us and bringing our soft and caring attention to it. And what is keeping us most often from this most natural experience is the struggle with our emotions and the thoughts that drive them, and vice versa. Krishnamurti tells us that thought is so cunning, so clever, it distorts everything for its own convenience. That's why it's so important to stop all our thinking when a strong emotion comes up in us. Otherwise, we just fuel the fire with our thoughts. In those moments, we need to stop everything and just simply come back to our breathing. You can have 10,000 thoughts a minute, and if you don't believe them, your heart remains at peace. Byron Katie. So what we're seeing on this path is that there are two kinds of suffering. There's the suffering we resist, which just follows us everywhere. And there's the suffering that we just turn to and face directly. And as we do, we become more free. Yet our minds are used to relate, they're familiar with relating to suffering by resisting it. And how do we do that? Blame, bitterness, anger, resentment. And this resistance is what the Buddha, as many of you know, calls the second arrow, right? The first arrow is the direct experience of pain. And the second arrow is the resistance that we grab and hang on to. In order for this to be more than just words that we can all agree have truth in them, that we can nod to really let it come in to our soul substance, really let it penetrate our own abyss of illusion, we have to really want to be free. This wanting to be free must become first before anything else. So we're seeing here that becoming awake, which, you know, sounds out of reach and like you have to do things for so many years and, you know, so forth and so on. It's really just the awareness of the skill we have already to end our own suffering. And that this awareness doesn't come from thinking. It comes from fully feeling the desire and the willingness that comes with that desire just to stop everything and be still. So whatever our true nature wants to share with us comes as an experience, not a thought. There's a relaxation, a letting go, putting down of a burden. So the simple form of this is what really matters is just to notice what's going on in ourselves without judgment. Just to look at it. Just to watch it, and also be conscious of the fact that the mind, that it is not in service of our real self, is a slave to itself and to the emotions it's wedded to. And that, we're not going to think our way to bliss, pleasure supreme, and freedom. That it's actually already here, right now, where I'm sitting, where you're sitting. And what we're doing together is just gently bringing our awareness to the fact that anything we're seeking is already here, and that we have the tool with our awareness that can identify what's going on inside of us instead of identifying with it, to be complete, to be whole. We already are underneath all this outer turmoil that the mind generates.